Hello everyone, let me welcome you to a lesson through the virtual training center of the Municipal Corporation of Greater Mumbai under the work from home sessions. My name is Shraddha teacher and today we will be looking at a lesson in history. Now children, we will be doing lesson number 3 in history together here, and the name of the lesson is Effects of the British Rule in India. Now, the previous lessons that we did, we talked about sources of history and we talked about Europe and India, and also when I told you about history syllabus for this year in standard 8th, I told you that we will be learning a lot about the struggle that we faced against the British rulers in India, how we had various leaders who helped us to go ahead and get freedom from these Britishers. Okay, and we also saw in the previous lesson that we took a background about why these people from Europe, what was the need for them and what motivated them to come to our country and establish their rule here. Now in this particular lesson, let us talk about what the effects of the British rule in India was. That is, how did the British come into India through the way of the East India Company, how they established their stronghold in our country. In the first half of the lesson, we will talk about the struggle that the British had with the Marathas. Okay, so the Marathas are very brave a lot of patriotic and a group of people who fiercely protect their freedom. So it was not very easy for the British people to come and establish themselves in India, because the Marathas offered a lot of resistance along with many other powers too. But in this lesson particularly, we will look first at, in today's part of the lesson actually, we will look at how the British had issues with the Marathas and what were the things which happened and what one situation led to another situation, and gradually, as we have learned from history, the British people, they became the rulers of India. Okay, so let us go and let us start by understanding why these people came to our country. So there were a lot of geographical discoveries, and last time I told you about Constantinople also. It was captured by the Turks or by the Ottoman Turks, and that route was blocked, and that led to geographical discoveries, and then finally they came to India. And European powers, when I talk about these people coming to India, we are not talking only about the British but the various European powers who came to India. In fact, when the British people came to India, there were already other rulers, other European powers who were already in the country. So this image will show you which were the European powers existent in our country. So we have the British. Okay, let us start with the Portuguese settlement. So see, this is a symbol. If you look here at the table, the Portuguese settlement, this is a symbol for the Portuguese in India. Then the English settlement, so we have these cross marks where there were the English people who settled. Okay, then we have the French settlements. So here you have these French people. You can see this place called Mahi, all right, Karikal, Pondicherry. So these were the places where the French people were settled down in our country. Then we had the Dutch settlements also in certain parts, like for example, see here Masulipatanam. You can see a place here, Pulicat. So there were some places. There is this place here, Chinsura. So some places there were Dutch settlements, and then there were the Danish people also who were in India. So many people were already in India, and many of them were there before the British could arrive on our coast. So these were the various European powers, but you will see that out of all these European powers, it were the British who were dominant. Okay, it were the British who had the largest, you can say, territory of our country under their rule. The others, they were confined to certain odd places, like for example, you have the Portuguese who were confined to Goa, Daman, Diu, okay, some parts of Calicut, some parts of Cochin, some parts of Cananore, etc. So largely, we are trying to understand that when the British came to India, it was not easy for them because there were already some European powers who were here, and they did not want, of course, they would resist, isn't it? When you are already there and you are already in the process of enjoying the benefits of imperialism in a particular place, And when some new power wants to enter now, which is much more powerful than you, naturally you will put up a resistance. So the Portuguese, they were already settled and they were having a good market in our country. The Dutch also. Now when the British entered, there was a race among these people for capturing the Indian markets. And the Portuguese and many other powers, they gave a very bitter resistance in the beginning. Alright, in the beginning they decided to fight back the British. But then later they realized that fighting will cause more harm than good, and therefore they established friendly relations with each other. Now if we Indians had done this at that point of time, maybe the British would not have had a chance to settle down in our country and rule us for so many years. But the British took benefit, or you can say they targeted us because we were not united. We were fighting as different provinces, the different kings. Okay, as a country we did not oppose them. So let us learn this point from history, that if you have to fight an outsider, you all have to be one. You have to forget our internal differences in order to fight an external power. Otherwise we are all going to become slaves one day. That is why, children, we learn history, so that we learn from the mistakes of our past and we do not repeat it in the future. So this was a story of the European powers which were there in India, and then we had the entry of the British East India Company. Now this company was a very huge company and they bought almost the whole of India under their control between 1756 and 1757 and 1856. So within this time frame, slowly and slowly, gradually, this particular company called the British East India Company bought the whole of India under its control. Okay. Now if you look at this particular picture, these were the places which were ruled by the British in our country. So the British acquisition is all shown in blue color. Can you see? And there are certain places which are shown in a brownish shade. So those were the independent Indian states. Now there were certain Indian states which were still independent. They were not under the British rule. Like for example, we have Kashmir, we have the Rajputana, Hyderabad in the south. So after independence, after we gained independence, we had a problem merging them also. So there we have the entry of Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, who made a lot of efforts to merge these states into the Indian Union. Okay, but that and all we will learn as a later part of the textbook, in the later part of the syllabus. So now we will try and understand how the British, they established their stronghold in our country. So see here, when the British came to India, Mumbai was a port. The Mumbai of today that we know of was Bombay in those days. And it was a port, and it was the main center for trade with the European countries. Not only with the British but also with the European countries, because it lies on the western coast of India. So it was the main center of British in the country, and they wanted to acquire the places which were nearby also. So they were not satisfied just being in control of Bombay or Mumbai as we know it today. They wanted to acquire the territories which were nearby, surrounding territories also. But unfortunately, like I told you in the beginning, it were the Marathas who were having an upper hand in these regions, because Mumbai belongs to Maharashtra as of today, isn't it? So the Maratha power was in existence over here, and they were a very brave and a very fierce and a very patriotic lot of people. So here you had leaders like Raghunath Rao, and you had leaders like Peshwa Madhav Rao. So after the death of Peshwa Madhav Rao, his uncle Raghunath Rao, he approached the British. So as far as Peshwa Madhav Rao was concerned, he fought tooth and nail to maintain his dominance. But after his death, Raghunath Rao, he was little greedy for the Peshwaship. He wanted to become Peshwa, and he was being opposed internally by the other Marathas. So without looking at the benefit of the entire nation, he wanted only selfish benefits for himself, and that is the reason he gave an entry to the British into the Maratha politics. So that is how the British entered Maratha politics. Now you should remember this and keep this in mind, that it was an insider that is Raghunath Rao, who allowed an outsider to step in and capture us. Okay, so Raghunath Rao, in fact, he went and asked the British for help, and that was all the British people needed. Okay, they were just waiting for this kind of an opportunity, but there were certain other Sardars who did not want this happening. Okay, so they put up wars, or they put up a resistance, and there were various wars which were fought between the British and the Marathas. So from the period of 1774 to 1818, there were 3 wars which were fought between the Marathas and the British. So let us try and look at each of these wars and what was the development which happened, who won, who lost, and what were the treaties which were signed, or what were the memos of understanding which happened between the British and the Marathas. So the first Anglo-Maratha war, it took place between the British and the Marathas between 1775 and 1782. Okay, and in this war you will see that the Marathas were united in fighting against the British and facing the British. So this unity proved to be of benefit to the Marathas, and somehow they won the war. Okay, they proved to be superior, and at the end of the war in 1782, they had a treaty with the Marathas which was called as the Treaty of Salbai. So this is the Treaty of Salbai. It was signed in the year 1782 between Warren Hastings and Mahatma Scindia. Okay, and certain parts were given to the British. So this was the Treaty of Salbai which happened. After that, you will see that Lord Wellesley, he arrived in India as the Governor General in the year 1798. Now when a new person or a new ruler or a new officer comes in, he has his own objective. He wants to do certain things for the betterment of his country. Okay, so the sole motive of Lord Wellesley was he wanted to establish British rule all over India. So that was his dream, and that was the objective or the goal that he brought with him when he came from England. So his objective was to establish British dominion all over India, not only in stray places here and there, not only Mumbai, not only Madras, that is Chennai of today, not only Calcutta or Kolkata, but he wanted the entire India to be under the British rule. Now for this purpose, he signed the subsidiary alliance with many Indian rulers. Now the Indian rulers were, like I told you, the example of Raghunath Rao. They used to look at their own benefit rather than the benefit of the country as a whole. So many of them, they signed the subsidiary alliance. Okay, some of them gladly, some of them a little bit under force, some of them a little bit out of fear. Now as per the terms of the subsidiary alliance, the Indian rulers were not allowed to have their independent forces. So they could not maintain independent forces. Now the military is the strength of any country. It is a military which protects you from external aggressions, and it keeps you independent with your freedom in place. But when you cannot have a military, then you can imagine the condition of the freedom, and you can imagine the condition of the sovereignty of a country. These particular leaders or these particular states which signed the subsidiary alliance, they were to be protected by the company. Okay, and for this they had to in fact pay the British government. So see, they came from outside and they are interfering in our politics. They are offering to protect us. They are not giving us permission to have our own army. They are offering to protect us, but in return for this protection they want money also from us. Alright, so this is how it started, and you will see that it went on, and slowly they brought almost the entire of our nation under their control. So according to the subsidiary alliance, what was the, you can say, terms of the subsidiary alliance. The Indian rulers had to maintain the British army in their court. Okay, and also they had to pay money, or they had to pay part of the territory for maintenance of this army. Now anyone who would not agree to this, so you would say, why would someone agree to such a thing? Like I told you in the beginning, some of them agreed gladly, some of them agreed because if they would not agree, then the British people would want to go to war against them. And also, even if the Indian ruler wanted to go to war against any other ruler, then the British had to give them permission. So this is how slowly and slowly they made us their slaves. Okay, and gradually we lost all our freedom to the British people. Later on you will see that we had the Treaty of Versailles, or the Treaty of Basim as we call it, and it was Baji Rao II who signed this treaty in the year 1808, and this is called as the Subsidiary Alliance Treaty. So finally they were, you can say, successful in bringing the Marathas also under their control, because the Maratha ruler Baji Rao II, he signed the Subsidiary Alliance Treaty with the British. Okay, but this treaty again was signed by Baji Rao II, but the many Sardars, there were many Maratha Sardars who were not ready even at this stage to oblige. They did not want to be any part of the British in their country. So they did not want the British army with them. They were not ready to pay also. This led to the next war, that is the Second Anglo-Maratha War. Now after this, by the time you know that the British had become quite, you can say, strong, there were many kings who had already done the subsidiary alliance thing, and in this the British won the battle actually. So after the victory of the British, they started interfering more into the affairs of the Maratha state. Okay, and Baji Rao II, he also started feeling that somehow or the other he has to oppose now, and then there was another battle, but he was defeated in this battle of 1818. There was this Anglo-Maratha War of 1818, and Baji Rao II, the second Baji Rao II was defeated and he surrendered to the British. Alright, now this was how you can say that the Mughals, the British, gained victory over the Mughals, and that is how the you can say the British established their control over many of the Maratha Sardars, and Daulat Rao Shinde was one of them. Okay, so after the defeat of Daulat Rao Shinde, you will see that General Lake, he defeated Daulat Rao Shinde, and he also captured the Mughal emperor. If you remember a little bit of history that we have studied last year, you will see that, you will remember that the British, the Mughals were offered a lot of help and support by the Marathas. Okay, so the Mughals used to ask for support from these Maratha rulers whenever there was an aggression from the northwestern side. They used to always run to the Marathas for help. But now, since Marathas were defeated, Daulat Rao Scindia was defeated, General Lake, what he did was, the first thing was he captured the Mughal emperor because he did not have any support now, and then that is how they gained victory or power over Hindustan. So this is how the British became the rulers of Hindustan. So children, this was the first half of our lesson today. We talked about how the East India Company came into India, how the other European powers which were present in this country opposed them in the beginning, but later on they all became hand in glove. They started supporting each other, and then how the British had a rather long, you can say, struggle with the Maratha rulers, and finally how the Maratha rulers had to accept defeat at the hands of the British because of lack of unity among the Indians. So that is all for today, children. Let us meet again next time to continue learning the story of the effects of the British rule in India. Till then, this is Shraddha teacher saying bye from the virtual training center of the Brihan Mumbai.